I want to show you a few different ways you can open ground beef. It's really common for ground beef to be packaged in a tube like this. There's actually some benefits to that when working with it, when opening it. One is a lot of people are adverse to dealing with raw meat on their hands. So if you're portioning this, if you're trying to get this into a skillet to make some ground meat, you don't even need to really touch the meat itself. I'd still recommend washing your hands afterwards, but we'll get into that later. But these packages can actually be very user-friendly to deal with, and I'm gonna show you a few methods that I use when I'm dealing with ground beef. One of my first tips, if you get this in bulk, a lot of people are getting those huge tubes from like warehouse grocers like Costco. Of course, you're not gonna eat all that ground beef in one sitting, so you wanna portion it out. My tip, freeze it a little bit. This meat is very loose, so if you want a little bit more control, go ahead and freeze it just about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes if your package is very huge. It'll be easier to work with firmed up packaged meat than just regular refrigerator temperature. You're not looking to freeze this completely through, it'll just be easier to work with. I'm used to sausage packed in this. This is mainly what I run across. You can even find ground turkey. There's a ton of different meats that come packaged like this. The simplest way I like to open these up is not with a knife. I think a lot of people have the tendency to just grab a knife, slice through it, and try to rip it up. You're gonna have your hands all in there, it gets a little messy, and then your package is all ripped up. Or even trying to cut a slit at the top with your knife. My recommendation, reach for your kitchen scissors. It's the easiest way to do it. I like to push the meat down a little bit and then just cut off the end. Easy as that. Your instinct may be to just squeeze it out. Don't do that, we're gonna twist. So take the other end and start twisting it tight. This will make sure that nothing gets left behind in that tube. I've seen so many cooks work with this packaging and they just leave so much behind in this tube. This is where the freezing also helps. It'll be firmer, it'll be less sticky, so nothing will really stay in there. But there we go. Easy as that. Clean packaging, no remnants, and barely even had to touch what was inside. Nice, easy, and clean. If you don't have a pair of scissors, here's another trick that I saw. I haven't actually done this, and I think this might be the messier way of doing it, but we're gonna try it out anyways. You're gonna make a small cut just to get through the packaging along the center, so don't cut all the way through. So this might be when you have a sharp knife, but maybe you don't have a pair of kitchen scissors you can use on hand, but you'll just squeeze both sides from the cut in the center, plop it out just the same. Hey, that actually worked pretty well. So if you are gonna use a knife, I'd recommend doing cut around the center, just make a shallow cut just to get through that plastic packaging, and then you just pull both ends. Didn't really have to touch anything again that time. See, I'm not averse to raw meat. Raw meat does not bother me, so I'll get my hands in there, I get my hands dirty. We can always wash our hands, but there is a look to the tube packaged meat that just is maybe not as pleasant. So, just get over it. We'll cook this up, it'll be delicious tacos or a meatloaf or something, Let's go back to the ground beef since it's been sitting in there. So for this package, I'm gonna portion this out and show you how I do it. Same thing here, just cut off the end. Now I take just a plastic bag, put it in the end, and we're switching up the rules here. I'm gonna squeeze the portion I want out in here and do the same thing. Twist and squeeze, and you don't even have to touch it. Now, whenever you're packaging or reportioning your ground meats, your proteins, get the air out and pack this flat. So don't just have a huge chunk. It'll freeze quicker, it'll freeze easier, and better yet, it'll thaw quicker and easier. So we're gonna flatten that out. One thin layer, as thin as you can get it. And this is ready to label, date, put back in the freezer for long-term storage. So I should have put this in the freezer for a little bit because there's portion markers on here to know where to cut it to make your sausage patties. Now I think it's a little too soft to do this, but I can try. Yeah, it's a little soft. So this is the case where I would put it in the freezer for a little bit because this next cut, even if you have a super sharp knife, is gonna be a little difficult to get through that plastic correctly. So if you are gonna cut through and make your portions, make sure it's pretty firm so you can slice through and get really even slices. The beef is right here. I'm gonna get the rest of this frozen, reinserted this, and I'm gonna do another third portion of this. And in these cases, you could weigh this out, but this isn't super specific. just trying to break this up into 3 portions. So there's our second one in there. Get rid of the air, flatten it out, and this portion's ready for the freezer too. It's a flat meatball. And anytime I'm working, especially with ground meat or a protein, anything like chicken, maybe even seafood, I fold the ends over. That way you're not getting the lip messy, because that's the part you want to keep kind of clean and sanitary. But I'm gonna get that in there. Do our twist method. Squeeze. Clean, easy, no gunk. Fold the top back up. We got our sausage portion. I've seen people do this flattening technique with a rolling pin too. I don't think you need all that. Got one more meat sheet. So don't be intimidated the next time you see this packaging. It's really easy to work with, and now you know the twist.